On today's episode of the Box2Box podcast, the guys look in depth from the weekend just gone. They talk about the state of the refereeing, the capitulation of Manchester United, and also, once again, go in depth about the race for the title, the race for the top four, and the places below, and also the race to go down. On to the podcast we go. Hello, and welcome to the 23rd, I believe, 23rd episode of the Box2Box podcast. If you haven't had a chance to watch last week, please go back and have a little listen. We did go on a longer one than normal. I think it was about an hour and six, but it was about a 55 to an hour long review in the games from the week before. If you haven't had a chance to, please do. Once again this week, I'm joined by Rez. How's it going, mate? You alright?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, pal. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. Not too bad. Very busy weekend, but yeah, good to be back. Alright, let's get into the games from the weekend just gone. First game on the Saturday. There wasn't an early kickoff this Saturday, was there? First game it was straight
No.
3 o'clock. So first game was Brentford versus Southampton. Brentford taking it 3-0. I'll let you go first, bud. How'd you see it?
Yeah, really good performance by Brentford. It was, you look at the stats and actually it's fairly even shots on target. But yeah, all in all, Brentford played really, really well. Obviously a good bounce back from the way they played against United the week before, the terrible team that is United at the minute.
They went back to a back
And
four as well. And that did it for them.
yeah, quite possibly. Ericsson again, very, very good. That Wissa,
Yeah,
he looked really good. And Tony and Remo, they cause defences a lot of problems. Southampton, fairly typical, up and down, right? Had a decent result the week before. Not sorry, the week before. So the week before that, obviously drew with Brighton, away from home, then lost to Palace, and now lost to Brentford. I don't know how fussed they are at the moment. Obviously, because they're well safe, they've got no trouble, no issues. I think it's just one of those where they're just kind of like, we'll just see it to the end now. Whereas Brentford, it's very much kind of a point to prove.
everything's
And
still new.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, if all other results go their way, I mean, and they win both their final games, they could finish top half of the table.
Yeah.
So for them, I think it's all about that really, and because it's new and fresh, right? With where Southampton are probably looking at it and going, well, it hasn't been a great season. It's been very up and down. Let's just draw a line under it and move on.
Yeah, I think that sums up the game and sums up both teams very well, really, to be fair. Southampton looked like they were already on their holidays. So they were planning on
Yeah,
what beach they were going to be laying on next, essentially, is what they look like, and just get ready for next year. Whereas Brentford obviously got something to prove, still want to finish as high as they possibly can in the league. I don't know whether they will in the last couple of games. We will start to get to the point where they're like, we're safe, we can't be bothered anymore. But depending on how close the players are to their owner, really, because obviously, like we said last week, you get more money the higher up the league you finish. So I suppose it just depends on whether the owner has said to him, look, if you can get me to this position, I'll give you X amount for it, or buy you a new car or something like that. And then players might play a little bit harder. But yes,
maybe. Yeah, quite possibly.
possibly. But yeah, I think that covers the game very well. The Ayers goal, I don't know if it was the second Brentford goal or the third, for a right back to like sort of scoop it with his left and tuck it under the goalkeeper with his right. I was like, Jesus Christ, where's that come from?
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's one of my goals of the week. It's not my goal of the week, but it is. It's absolutely superb. Like just yeah, incredible. I think it was their. Was it their
I think it might have been
third
their
goal?
third. I think it might have been their third because I think he wrapped it up for him. If I'm right, I'm just gonna double check.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's just the way he, just dragged it past the defender through the keeper's legs. Yeah, it was a really good goal. I
it,
say it was just,
in his
say
cele-
for a defender.
in his celebration, you could tell he was shocked. Even though he just done it, he was like, "How the fuck have I just done that?" Celebration is
Yeah,
screaming off as if to say, "I've never done that in my life. Maybe on FIFA, but never in this." But yeah, fair play to Brentford. To be fair, I think a lot of people picked them to be going down, and they've done well this season. It'll be a lot more challenging for them next year, I think, with the first season out of the way, and a lot of people not predicting them to go down anymore. It's a lot harder to stay in the league the second year, I believe, rather than the first year.
I think that's generally what they say. The other thing as well is their players, right? So Ericsson, you imagine, will go.
Yeah,
And then I would have thought there'll be certain clubs looking at the likes of Tony.
yeah,
When I say certain clubs, I think the likes of Brighton, even Newcastle, will be
possibly.
looking at people like Tony and being like,
Yeah,
"Do you know what? He might fancy just that move at that time." So the, they've got a few players there who have performed really, really well this season. You imagine that there'll be a few teams around them that will be looking at that and going, "Oh, that's quite interesting." And say I don't know obviously what's going on with Ericsson. I can only assume that he's going because he hasn't signed a new contract with them, has he?
no, he
As
only had a
far as I'm
6 month
aware.
deal, didn't he? He signed a
Yeah.
6 month deal in January.
Um,
So I
and
mean,
so
keep, if
I
they
can't
can
imagine.
keep hold of Ericsson and keep hold of their players, and maybe add one or two to it, they could genuinely do quite well next year as well. But obviously, it's if they keep hold of everyone.
Yeah, I can't see it because I can't see Ericsson can go into any Premier League team and improve their midfield other than the top two,
Yeah,
I would say.
maybe Chelsea,
Um,
maybe.
At a push, but with Jorginho is hit and miss. Kovacic, not fantastic. Um, like obviously you've got, I mean, Loftus Cheek played at the weekend in midfield. Um, so yeah, I think that I think he'd fit into their team quite nicely too. So I think outside the top two, he could get into any team in the league. And especially considering he's on a free, um, and he's got the is it IUD? It's called
Yeah,
fitted. So Daily Blinn's got one, hasn't he, in the
he
Eredivisie
has. Yeah.
for Ajax?
Mhm.
Um, so in theory,
I can see
he
Ten Hag
should
picking him up.
be.
You know,
Yeah, I can. I think he's the
on a
right kind of
free,
player.
I think Ten
Yeah,
Hag would
he's the
pick him
right
up on
kind
a
of
free.
player. And I
He's
think
not one that sits
compared
there
to
moans and like Pogba doesn't disrupt the dressing room. He just comes in, trains, does what
no,
he
and
needs
he
to, and goes
works
home.
hard. He
Yeah, and
works
works
hard
hard. Yeah, yeah,
every
no, of
game.
course.
Unlike fucking McSauce and those fucks.
Save it, save it. We got a couple more games yet. We got a couple more games yet. So we'll move on to the next one quickly, just to get you off that. We'll move on to the Burnley Villa game, which actually shocked me quite a bit. To be fair, Villa took this one 3-1. Um, I was quite shocked at this, but then again, watching it back, I actually thought maybe have Burnley used everything they had in the tank to get the results that they've had recently, because they did look just tired and just not at the races against Villa. Um, and I just think that Villa did their homework and got a great result. Um, you got anything to add to that, or anything you saw differently?
the only thing I'd say is that I think that when you look at Burnley's last three games, there were three games they won prior to this game. The thing that those teams had in common that Villa are not. Villa are very dynamic. I think with Watkins and Ings up top, I think they're a different kind of threat to the teams they played up till this point.
Yeah,
And I think that the Burnley defense isn't the Burnley team isn't particularly mobile. And I think that played a massive part. I think that Villa looked really good going forwards, and they looked a threat constantly. Obviously, Burnley had some chances. Obviously, they got a goal in the end, but Also, I think it was a big ask, 4 wins in a row for Burnley. I expected them to get something from this game, for what it's worth. I think I did.
So
I
did
predict.
I.
I think I
Well,
predicted a
I
win
think we both predicted a
um,
win. We both predicted 1-0
because
Burnley.
they're in good form and they had to. Every game for every one of those teams that has to win. Um, and I just expected a bit more from them. I think you're right. They did look a bit flat, and maybe that is fatigue, quite possibly. So they've not got a big squad,
Yeah.
and they don't have a lot of quality, even through their first 11, let alone their bench. So, yeah, quite possibly it's fatigue setting in, which
Yeah.
is a real bad fucking time.
It's
Um,
a big
that
week for
being
them as well.
said, yeah, obviously we'll touch on Leeds shortly, um, because I think that looking at the fixtures, and
Yeah,
again,
I'm
it's very
just looking at
difficult,
them
right?
now.
Because obviously Burnley have got Villa again, um,
Away.
and
Yeah.
that's not psychologically. They probably went into that game thinking they could win that, so to then pick themselves up
Yeah.
from that
No, that's what you mean.
and go against the same team, I think it's going to be a struggle. And then last game of the season against Newcastle, we'll get on to Newcastle again as well because I thought they'd give a bit more.
The money derby.
But yeah, it's going to be tight. Unfortunately, I mean, I think I called an Everton win this weekend against Leicester. Did I?
Uh,
I think I
you
did.
did. You said Everton would win 1-0.
Yeah, Leicester are fucking dog shit. That's why. But that's a
We'll get onto
massive.
that one with that game. Yeah.
That's a massive, massive win
No, it
for
is.
them. And uh, yeah, Burnley, Burnley will be kicking themselves. So I think it was a game they could have got something from. It's just on the day Villa were much better.
Yeah. I think that's. I think that covers that game very nicely. What we said, really. Um, we'll move on to the next game. It's not the last kicking off. The Chelsea versus Wolves. 2-2. I have to admit, I didn't. I was sort of looking at it on my phone. Saw Chelsea went 2-0 up. I went, game's done. Um, to end up 2-2, I thought, what the hell's happening here? But how did you see it, pal?
Um, Chelsea, they probably should have lost this game in the end. Um, I don't know what happened to them. They looked pretty comfortable from what I saw. Um, and then obviously they get the pen, and then Lukaku goes and scores what was quite a decent goal. Um, and then yeah, just threw it away. Again, I think are they on the beach partially, maybe psychologically, but I mean, Arsenal are now 1 point behind them, so they could easily lose third. And if things went really tits up for them, they could end up losing top four, Chelsea. So they've got to be careful. And I just think it shows that they're not that good. And I think that a lot of people have kind of said, oh, it's City, Liverpool, then Chelsea, then the rest. Bullshit. Chelsea aren't that good. Like you can see that
But
now.
I
It's
said that last week. To be fair, I said I don't think they're as good as what people give them.
no, they're not. I think that because of the Champions League win last season, and obviously they're in the FA Cup final this weekend, right? Um, and they could win another trophy under Tuchel. And fair play, it's great, and they are very much a cup team. But I mean, I expected more from Chelsea this season, for what it's worth. With particularly with Lukaku coming in, I thought they'd do something. But yeah, anyways, let's not take anything away from Wolves and say I think they could have won this game in the end. Wolves, they'll probably look back at it and think,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a it was a good draw, a great comeback, and they'll look at it and think, yeah, they could have won. They could have got a little bit more out of it. And Chelsea, I don't know what's going on there. They just almost capitulated at the
But I
end,
think
and
everyone's leaving them alone because of what's going on behind the scenes, like media wise. I think if this happens and nothing's going on behind the scenes, um, they'd slaughter Chelsea for what's going on. They'd slaughter them.
yeah,
But because of what's
quite
going on, they're
possibly,
not saying a word about them.
yeah, quite possibly. And I mean, we've seen obviously get on to United, but McTominay's interview a few weeks ago when he mentioned about the stuff going on behind the scenes with the club and everything, with the staff and stuff, it does affect players.
Yeah,
That uncertainty. Obviously, you've got players at Chelsea who are looking for new contracts. I know Mason Mount's one of them, and they'll be thinking, well, you can't. Obviously, I know that the deal's been agreed now, hasn't it? One of the
yeah,
consortiums. It's been agreed. Again, I don't know where. Again, what's it? I don't know where that money goes. Like,
yeah. Where is
it's
that money
how
gonna
much
go?
is it 4.5 billion?
Yeah, it's not because it's not gonna go to Roman Abramovich. They won't let him have it, will they?
No,
So where's it
no.
going?
So then, does the club just get a fucking injection of 4.5 billion? I don't understand. I don't
That's the
understand
case,
how
mate.
this
Any chance
works.
the Glazers can get frozen out, and then
Yeah,
someone can just buy
yeah,
us
that's
out as
it.
well.
Yeah. Just need to go and invade one of their fucking shopping centres, and then be like, oh, yeah, fucking idiots. Um, no, I don't know where the money goes. I don't know, but going back to the football side of things, it could be having an effect. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Um.
It's up to the manager to basically put that to the bed, put that to the back of their minds, and just get them to focus on their football. But I say up until a point, they looked reasonably comfortable, though, for what it's worth. Chelsea, saying, and all of a sudden the game just turned, and Wolves looked much. They finished much a stronger team.
Yeah. No, they definitely did. Right. I think that covers the Chelsea game. We'll move on to the last 3 o'clock kickoff for Saturday, which was Palace versus Watford. Palace taking it 1-0 with a Zaha penalty. Um. Yeah, Palace absolute dominant throughout this game. I actually didn't expect them to be this dominant. I thought Watford had given a little bit more of a account of themselves. Um, on another day, that Palace could have won that game easily 4-5-0. They seem to be having a nice little interchanging of their front sort of 3-4. Palace, with Zaha, SA, is it Mteta? Is it Mteta in it? I think it is the striker.
Elise, Elise,
Elise
and
and
Edouard.
Edouard as well. I think no matter what one of them four is playing, they tend to do very well up front, and they sort of interlock with each other, and they're all swapping, all changing, all turning up in different positions, and it's actually working out really well for Palace. And I think they were did it very well and got a very good win against the Watford side, who you can tell they were going down probably since relatively Christmas/January as well. What did you think of it?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I felt Palace were dominant. They looked pretty good. Watford offered nothing. I did want to touch on the stick that Roy Hodgson's been getting for applauding at the end of the game, like applauding Palace fans and stuff. Um, I think it's unfair. I think that this is most likely um, the last time that he's going to see the Palace fans from the pitch, certainly. Obviously, he was there for a while, and I don't see the problem in it really. Like, listen, Watford were doomed. I didn't think they would be. I thought they had the team, particularly with Dennis and Sarr, King even, and you think they've got the likes of Cleverley and Sissoko, players who have played in the Premier League before. Ben Foster. I thought they'd be okay, but they've been diabolical recently as well.
Yeah,
Like in the recent weeks, they've been really, really, really poor. And say they offered literally nothing in that game. They didn't even offer any fight, and that's the shocking thing. Again, we'll get onto fucking Man United in a minute. And talk about fight, but when you're down that end of the table, what you all the fans want to see is fight. They want to see you fighting for every ball, every 50-50. And just they just lacked anything. Like you say, I think they were a team that looked like they were ready to go down. In their heads, they were already down, they were already gone, and obviously it was a huge, huge task. Realistically, they were gone, but mathematically they weren't until that game.
yeah. No, yeah, they were. They were. No, I had feeling they'd go down. Even though the names you read off that you said that have got quite a good team, about staying in the Premier League, that you didn't ride off any defenders or anything almost like you did say two centre midfielders, but cleverly, realistically, he was never really good enough for the Premier League. I don't think he's Premier League quality anyway, and
Hey,
Sissoko's
do you
probably
not
the only one.
remember the 2011 Community Shield? I think it was.
Yeah, I think you said it all in one there, mate. 2011 Community Shield. That just says it all, really, mate. In honesty with
it was
you.
it was against City, and we
Yeah,
were 2-0 down
at
half
half
time. I mean,
time,
we've done it before.
we won 3-2.
Obviously, we've done
Nani
it
scored
twice
that
now.
last minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Cleverly and Anderson that day were unbelievable. I was there at Wembley, and I
uh,
couldn't believe it. I was like, we were moaning about Ferguson not signing midfielders for ages because obviously Carrick was getting on,
Scholes
Scholes
was
was
hurrying.
really getting on, and you're like, we need midfielders, and then you see Anderson and Cleverly putting a performance like that, you're like, shit, we don't need midfielders. We got Cleverly and Anderson. Um, is he Premier League quality? There's worse players in the Premier League, I think, than him. But I know what you're saying. He's not a player that you think would keep you up. But the main ones, Dennis and Saul, I think they're very, very good players. They're very good footballers.
Yeah,
And they remind me a lot of, I mean, on the flip side, Palace with Zaha and Elise, they're players that can run at people, that can cause defensive problems. I think the problem with Watford is they kind of got caught between trying to defend and trying to basically be difficult to beat and allowing those players to roam free. Because let's not forget, this team beat United 4-1 in November. Was it November?
not very
It was
difficult.
November, I think.
I think it was
So,
somewhere around there.
um, yeah, it was Ollie's last game in charge.
Yeah, it's not a very
Rightfully.
difficult challenge, in all honesty.
Okay.
I think Southwick Rangers would beat United 4-1 at the moment. Um, so all right, there we go then. So that I think that covers the Watford game. We'll move on to the Brighton Man United game at the weekend. Um, I'll let you go, as I know you probably have a few things to say about quite a few players. Um, and then I'm sure you'll pop off, I'll pop off, and then yeah, we'll carry on talking about it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanna start with something, a quote. So listen to this. I'm going to be successful here, and there are players who won't be part of that successful team, but many of these do have it. So, who said that and when? Do you know?
I think if I'm right, it was Solskjaer,
Yep.
and it was after a defeat. Was it the Champions League? The
No.
season before he was sacked. It was after a game before he was sacked. Before he started signing loads of players, that is.
So this was from April 2019,
Okay,
so
yeah,
over 3 years ago.
yeah,
And I remember this, and I remember this situation, and thinking, yes, you are right. Let's do this. Let's see this. So we just lost 4-0 to Everton, right?
yeah.
And so, of the starting 11 from that game, how many do you think have left the club?
I've left the club.
Have left the club, yeah.
Not a lot in all honesty. I'd probably go for because there's not been that many leaving United really. You probably got you're clutching at straws really. Like Pereira's left, of course, for Brazil. In terms of left, I don't think there's that many, mate. In all honesty,
Well, from the starting
if
11,
any.
there are two
Can I say it
left.
would the starting 11 I can imagine was David, Maguire, or David Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, probably Luke Shaw. The midfield would be something along the lines of Pogba, maybe Herrera.
Well, don't think Maguire had signed at
Oh,
this
is that
point.
that was the summer
This was
before,
just
wasn't it?
before,
Yeah.
this was
Okay.
just before that
So it might have been
summer.
Eric Bailly
So
in midfield.
it's
In defence.
Chris Smalling and Lukaku are the two players that have left the club since that fucking defeat.
Lukaku should have gone.
Um,
Smalling probably should have stayed. In hindsight.
yeah. So in 3 years, 9 out of those 11 players are still at the club from that fucking dismal performance. Now, why are they still at the club? I think part
I
of it
think it's
is,
the backroom staff that are letting
you
them
know,
give contracts and that.
it's the board and that. Yeah, mate. You know when you buy something, let's say a T-shirt, right? And you fucking really love this T-shirt, and you're like, "Oh, this is my favorite fucking T-shirt. I love this T-shirt," and it starts to get tired, and you're like, "Yeah, but it's my favorite T-shirt. I'm not going to get rid of it." And your girlfriend's like, "Fucking get rid of the T-shirt." You know, I'm not getting rid of the T-shirt. It's my favorite T-shirt. Look at it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Right? I'm pretty sure the fucking cunts of a board look at the United team like that and go, Martial's a perfect example. They look, we spent 50 million on him. We can't sell him. What do
Yeah.
you mean you can't sell him? He's shit. Oh, yeah, but we spent 50 million on him. I was like, I don't give a shit how much you spent on him. Get rid.
I think it's also a
And
part where they don't want to be proved wrong.
yeah, I can well imagine. Listen, you look at Ed Woodward, that fucking prick. I hate him. I even hate the way he looks, mate. Honestly, his face winds me up. You look at
It's just had the Step Brothers in my head. I don't know what it is with your face, but I really want to punch you. Can I do anything to help you with that?
He's got one of those faces, you know, where like the people like their head sits like slightly back into their shoulders, and then like they're fucking. Oh mate, I hate him. Honestly, Anyways, it's people like him and Matt Judge who absolute pair of wallies. Thankfully, they're both gone. Right, Matt Judge is leaving at the end of the season. Thank fuck for that.
Woodward went in
And
February.
Woodward, yeah. So or did he? He only left last month, really, didn't he? Because there was that kind of he had the fucking transition period bullshit where everyone was like, "Oh shit, he's not going to leave, is he?" Or was that? Oh no, he left in Feb. Oh no, he was meant to leave at Christmas, wasn't it? That was it.
Yeah,
So
he
you had
meant
the
to
two
Christmas, but
there.
because of
That was it.
Ranić,
coming in.
yeah, he had to stay for
He
another
wanted
extra bit of time.
he wanted to stay to give some stability to the club. Really,
Fucking brilliant, great bit of stability.
Anyways, the club's in a real state. And this game kind of epitomised everything that's wrong with the club. And unfortunately, we came up against a team that has everything right for the club. Brighton have a clear idea. They have an owner who gives a shit and who understands that it's football first, right? Performance on the pitch will eventually equate to money coming in off the pitch. That's how it works. You've got a manager who has a clear idea and a team who has a clear identity. They've got a style of play. They all know what they're supposed to be doing at any given time, and they all work for one another, work hard for each other. Versus United, who have a team of individuals who clearly have no idea how to play football together. It's like, you know, when you grab a load of people and you're like, oh, do you fancy a game of football? Yeah, let's go and play. And then who are you playing against? Oh, we're playing against this team. Most of the time, you expect to get beat. Not because they're better than you, better players than you, but because they're a team and you're not.
Yeah.
And Brighton were a team and they played really, really well. They knew exactly what they needed to do against United. Potter's a superb manager. And talking to a mate of mine, Sean, on Saturday, and then talking to your dad on Sunday, both of them, interestingly, raised Spurs and finishing fourth. And basically worrying that if Spurs don't finish fourth and Conte goes, then they'll go back in for Potter.
Yeah,
which is a possibility.
I saw that. I saw the rumours about that.
He deserves a step. He's done amazingly well. The one thing you'd say though is that Brighton as a project at the moment looks quite appealing. It just depends on obviously what promises he gets given by the board for the summer and moving forwards and moving on, right? Talking about Brighton, they've turned it around big time. I mean, there was a point where they went, how many? I can't remember how many games. It was
It was a
something
few,
silly.
like 12 or
Um,
13 without a win.
yeah, yeah, absolutely mental. Now they're top half of the league. Absolutely incredible. Really good team. Obviously, they're going to lose a couple of players. I think that obviously Basuma will probably go. Trossard's been superb recently. Absolutely superb. Yeah, Basuma go. Gross was very good in this game, and March was incredible, absolutely incredible against Tellez. I mean, Tellez isn't great for what it's worth, but March had a really, really good game. So yeah, fair play to Brighton, but United, it's like beating a fucking bunch of handicapped kids and celebrating, though. To be honest,
Yeah, I
like
saw
you,
Cucurella like crying that he'd scored a goal. I'd like against United. I was just sort of sitting there going like, I genuinely reckon I'd score a goal right now against us. Like,
I get it. Right? They've beaten a name, and it's probably their biggest victory in their fucking history. And they've beaten a name. They've beaten Manchester United, regardless of what's. You can only play what's in front of you at the end of the day. But all of those players are supposed to represent Man United. Not one of them. I mean, the fans obviously chanting, "You're not fit to wear the shirt." They're absolutely right. There was obviously a lot of people making a lot of what Ronaldo laughing at it when we went 3-0 down. I think it was.
yeah,
Um, you can understand why. Listen,
he's probably sitting there thinking, why the fuck have I come back for this shit?
that starting 11. So De Gea, he is a very, very good goalkeeper. Is he elite? No, but you probably put him in the great to world class bracket, not elite, right? Defense. Dallo is average.
He didn't have too bad of a
Lindelof,
game, to be fair.
no, he didn't actually. But then
Considering what it's
last
worth.
week,
He had a dog shit
not
game the
last
week
week, the week
before.
before, yeah, and that whereas Tellez had a better game, and they literally seem to just basically just alternate who has a good game, which of them has a good game, which of them has a bad game. Lindelof average, Varane's looked bang average, surprisingly, and again
But I'm
you
thinking
question
you're putting
whether,
him next to three shit players
yeah, well this is it. Is it
and
that
no midfield.
at Real Madrid where he looked unbelievable? He had Sergio Ramos, who's one of the best defenders in our lifetime to play the game. So how much of that was part of it?
I don't
Um,
know with Varane. With Varane, I never really see that with him. I don't really feel as if that's what he's like. I feel like he is an unbelievable defender. He just has no midfield in front of him. That no midfield actually knows what they're doing. He's got to worry about Lindelof. He's got cover for Lindelof. He's got cover for Tellez. And there are points in time where I'm looking at going, Varane's picked up the perfect position for centre back, and he's having to come across the goal to cover for Lindelof, or he's having to go across to cover for Tellez. He then comes out of position, and there's a massive hole.
yeah, yeah. Listen, like I say, I don't know. The jury's out on Varane. I think you can't judge him on this season because this season's been a complete train wreck. Tellez is poor, really poor. Then in front of them, you had Matic and McTominay. Now, Matic is old and he's leaving, right? But there's moments where you can see that actually he used to be a quality player. McTominay is. I don't want to talk about Scott McTominay, to be honest, because that motherfucker, he come through the academy, so you'd think he'd at least give a shit. He doesn't even run half the time. He watches play just drift past him. And you're like, are you not going to run? No, I'm not going to run. Oh, okay. It's all right though. You can come out at the end of the game and give your apologies. It's all right. That's reason for you to not run because it's okay. I won't run now, but I'll apologise later. Prick. Ilanga's young.
I'm.
He shouldn't
You saw what I put in the group the
throwing
other day
throwing
though.
someone. Yeah, I did, but throwing someone that young into a team doing this badly with no identity, that kid must be. He's running around. He's like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I don't know where other people are supposed to be. I feel for him because actually he's been at times a bright spark in a really dark season. So again, I'm not going to judge him on this season because it's not fair to judge some of those players on this season. Next season will be the one where you can start to basically build a picture of what he is in reality. Mata was poor in this game, but Brighton were very good closing down space. They press well. That's what Brighton do. Mata doesn't quite have what it takes for this kind of game. However, again, he's old and still his passing ability is very impressive. Fernandez has been really shit for a while. I know that Armir will defend him and everything, but the fact of the matter is, if you're a manager with any bollocks, drop them. Bring in the kids. Fuck it. The season's done anyway. What difference does it make? Why is he playing? He's been terrible, even by his own admission. And then you've got Ronaldo, who in a game like this, it's impossible because the team was so poor.
He had no
And I don't
service, he
know.
had nothing.
No, it's difficult because obviously I'm saying the team was so because United were terrible, but you have to give credit to Brighton because Brighton were very, very good. It was just a terrible, terrible result by a terrible team. And like I said last week, I am just looking forward to the season being over. One more game left, which will probably get done by Palace. And let's just draw a line under this season. We move on and hope that Ten Hag has an idea at least. I don't know what Ranieri's done. Looking at Ranieri, we'll do obviously an end of season review when it's all said and done. And we can talk about teams and managers and everything, but I just don't see what he's achieved. He's achieved nothing at United, which for him must be quite embarrassing because he
weren't
came
going
with
to
such a
happen.
massive reputation.
It was
No, it's
never going
always
to
going to be
happen.
difficult.
No matter what manager came in, they wouldn't listen to him because they're only there for 6 months until the end of the season, which is what I don't understand about United. If you want Liverpool, for example, when they went up the shitter with Brendan Rodgers, they got Klopp in, was it November? I think he joined them, or October, November.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Chelsea, Tuchel got him in January. If you want a manager, go and get them. Don't sit there and go, oh, just wait till the end of the season and we'll do it. We'll try and do it right at the end of the season. It's like, no, because then you're writing off a season in November. Solskjaer left, what was it, end of November?
yeah,
Season's fucking written off already because he's given a manager a job that none of the players are going to fucking listen to because they haven't. The only person that actually listened to him, or two people I believe that listened to him, or I'll say three actually, De Gea, Varane, and Ronaldo are the only three that actually can listen to a manager. The rest think their shit don't stink and they're too good for it. You can clearly tell
yeah,
that by Maguire's put out a place because of Ronaldo. And Roy Keane said it very, very, very importantly on Sky Sports. He said, when you're captain of Manchester United, there's going to be players that are better than you. There is. Like, Keane was like, I had players that were better than me that I was playing with. I was playing with Scholes, I was playing with Giggs, I was playing with Ronaldo, I was playing with Rooney. These players were better than me. It's like, it doesn't stop you from being the leader and the captain. Like, you do the
yeah.
simple stuff right. You get your game right. You get your performance right. You don't worry about everyone else, and then you lead by example that way. You don't have to be the best player on the pitch to be the captain of Manchester United. You don't.
No,
You don't. In any team, you don't have to be You don't have to be the best player to be the captain. Realistically, how many captains are the best player in that team? You look at Liverpool. Jordan Henderson's a captain. Are you putting him in? I'm not putting him in the top 10 of how good he is compared to other players in Liverpool.
yeah, no. It's about attitude. It's
Yeah,
about
that's what it
application.
is.
It's about leading by example. Maguire doesn't lead by anything.
You've got to know
But
yourself.
anyways,
If you're not the best player, you've got to know. You've got to just perform better.
The problem is, I think Harry Maguire came out of the back of the European Championships, had a lot of smoke blown up his arse. Him and Luke Shaw were particularly culpable for this. A lot of smoke blowing up their arses. Oh, look at how amazing these players are. Look at this. They came back and they were dog shit. And
Luke
both
Shaw,
of
I can
them,
understand it because Luke Shaw actually did have quite a good season the season before.
yeah.
And then after the Euros,
Harry
he just
Maguire
dropped. I
had a
don't know
good
why.
tournament. Harry Maguire had a good tournament with England. I mean, he was in the back three.
But that was the World Cup. He had a good tournament with England, wasn't it? And then that's when we signed him after that, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, but he had a good Euros as well when we got to the final.
Yeah, I can't even fucking remember. I think Luke Shaw had an unbelievable Euros. That's what I can remember. I did think Harry Maguire had as good of Europe, but then didn't we play a back five?
It was a He played
As
in a
as I
back
said
three.
so many fucking times, if you're playing in a back three, you're playing a back three as a reason. You're not good enough.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying for 1 second that
Yeah.
it's right. I'm just saying that that's what's happened,
Mm,
basically.
yeah.
But yeah, he had a good tournament though, for what it's worth. But then he had Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice in front of him, not
Two
fucking
CDMs.
McSauce. Fucking
You think
fucking McSauce.
we're playing five at the
I'd
back?
rather see Fred. I know you hate Fred. Fred at least tries. He puts the fucking effort in.
Yeah, but as soon as he touches the ball, you're like, what? How are you
I don't give a
Brazilian?
shit, mate. At least the geezer looks like he gives a shit. Anyways, let's fucking move
So,
on. It's fucking
what part of
boiling my
Brazil is
piss.
Fred from? Fucking Scunthorpe. That's what it feels like, anyway. Just shows that he cares. Runs around like a headless chicken, but can't pass the ball 3 yards. Anyway, let's move on. Last game on the Saturday, Liverpool beat Spurs. 1-0. Spurs must have brought a very, very, very big bus with them to sit here in front of the Liverpool goal. I'll let you go first on this one, buddy. How do you see this?
Yeah, listen. What? Why? Why does Jurgen Klopp think that Spurs should have turned up and gone? Here you go. Fucking have the goal. It's bullshit. Do you know what? It fucks me off. And the loving for Liverpool, Guardiola had it right. Listen, Guardiola's been fucking literally destroyed in the media because he said that the media and the fans want Liverpool to win. They always want Liverpool to win. I don't know about the fans so much. Liverpool fans, obviously, they do scream the loudest, so that's probably why it seems like that. And the City don't have any fans, so when you measure up the two, it's like, oh fucking hell, look at those. They don't have the biggest fan base, obviously we do, but their fans are certainly the loudest, and they're probably not. I don't want to say the hilarious, but they're certainly cocky Liverpool fans. They always have been. Um, Spurs game plan was spot on, and they did exactly what they were set out to do. And had it not been for Diaz, they would have won that game. And fair play to them. Like you can't come out and go, I don't like this style of football. Well, fuck you. It's not nothing to do with you. Literally nothing
play,
at all to do with you.
play
You can't
better, I
tell the
would
other
say.
team how to play. It's bullshit. And like I say, the media, they love Liverpool. They always have done.
Said the
And
refs.
they were gutted, absolutely gutted. They drew this game. And I'm so happy. And I hate Spurs, but fuck me, well done, Spurs. That was beautiful. And to
I
get
mean, you
under
called it,
Klopp's
mate. To be
skin
fair,
like that as well.
you didn't call 1-0. You said Spurs would win 1-0, but you said they'd drop points. That was what you said in the last podcast. I remember you saying it because I said
Well,
let's hope that happens.
Mystic Meg.
Mystic mate, that you were saying because I remember you saying that that fan emailed in is it 365 football
Yeah.
365 and
Football
said
365.
Liverpool and
Yeah.
Tottenham have ruined the quadruple. The last two times it's meant to happen, and then it happens again. They do it again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's assuming that City's running isn't like between the two of them now. City's running is the trickier to navigate from here on in.
I don't know. Obviously, I was going to say Villa for Liverpool, but just realised who's in charge of Villa. That's the reason why.
Yeah, mate. Yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen, isn't it? Yeah.
The only
Oh,
game that Liverpool have got that might be a challenge is the Wolves game. City have got West Ham.
yeah.
So yeah, it from here on in, I say Liverpool's running is slightly easier. I say easy. It's more favourable, right? But obviously we'll get onto City in a minute. But no, I say fair play to Tottenham. They had a game plan, which is more than going to be said about Man United and our fucking manager. Conte, clear game plan. And I think he's come out in response to Klopp today, hasn't he? I don't know what he said. But I love it because people think that Klopp's amazing and he's this amazing guy. He's such a nice guy. And then my mates who do a podcast, they used to talk about Klopp's mask and it slipping because every now and then it would slip. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, hang on a second, you're quite a nasty, spiteful piece of shit. Um, and it happened again. Like he got stroppy, just got stroppy
Because his
over
team
the
didn't
fact
win.
that a team didn't roll over and let their bellies get tickled by Liverpool Football Club. How arrogant do you have to be to think that that should happen? Honestly, like how arrogant must you be? It's disgusting.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
So oh mate, and honestly, when Real do them in the fucking final,
I was
I
thinking,
was so happy.
imagine obviously if they've lost the league now, they lose to Chelsea at the weekend in the FA Cup. Real do them in the Champions League, and they only end up with the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, it'd be classic. Imagine how stroppy Klopp will be then. The media will be so salty as well. They'll be crying,
Yeah.
arseholes. But anyways,
Right, I think that does it for the Liverpool game. I don't feel as much else I can really add to it. Well played Spurs is probably the best thing to say about it. We'll move on to the Sunday games. There was 3 games at 2 o'clock. First game in alphabetical order was Arsenal versus Leeds. Arsenal taking this one 2-1. And Ketia with 2 very quick finishes in the first half.
yeah,
Arsenal, I thought Arsenal just did really what they needed to do to win this game. Um, I did feel a little bit harsh for Ayling because I didn't believe it was a red card. Um, there was 2 or 3 other games. One was in the Man United Brighton game, when one of the Brighton players did it on Alanga, a similar tackle. Another one I couldn't remember. I had all 3 of them written down. I've lost a bit of paper. Um, Whether it happened over the weekend where 3 challenges were exactly the same as Ayling's, but it was a yellow card or no card given on the other occasions. But it just seemed like it was a red card for Arsenal. Didn't make sense to me. But I'd love to get your opinion on that one as well in a second. But I feel Arsenal just did everything they needed to do to win the game.
fair.
On to you, pal.
Yeah, I felt for
Yeah,
Messia, the keeper. Obviously, a bad mistake for the first goal. And Ketia, yeah, he's on it from the get go. On the Ailing side, I thought it was a red. For me, you can't leave the ground like that, especially the proximity as well, because the only thing he could only land with his studs up at the player at their ankles because of the proximity in which where he left the ground and had to come back down. I thought it was a really bad challenge. It was a really poor choice of tackle given the situation that Leeds find themselves in. I get it that they're 2-0 down at that point. Maybe a little bit of frustration, maybe panic, whatever. But for someone who has had actually quite a good season, generally, he's been a better performer for Leeds, and he obviously loves the club and he gives his all. I was surprised that he had a moment of absolute sheer stupidity and did that. And say for me personally, I think a red card is fair because regardless of the outcome, and I think I've spoken about this before, that like penalties, for example, anything that happens on the pitch, just because a player doesn't go down or doesn't get hurt, doesn't make the challenge any less dangerous.
no, I understand what you're saying. I just think that over the weekend, other games, like just for example, it's the only one I remember off the top of my head. I can't remember what Brighton midfielder it was, but they did a challenge on Alanga where the ball was knee height. They got the ball and then followed through studs knee height on Alanga. Now, in my view, I was like, well, that's a red card then, and he didn't give him a card at all. He wasn't even looked at. Nothing mattered whatsoever, and I was like, that could have seriously hurt Alanga. Could have put him out for the rest of the season and start most of next season.
No, listen, you're right. You're like it's.
So then, if
We've
that's
spoken
not a
about
card,
inconsistency.
how
No,
is
we've
that one a
spoken about
red?
inconsistency if previously. The thing is, the one thing that I say, and I cannot stress this enough, that every single decision has to be made in isolation in the context of the situation that as it transpired in front of the referee. You can't there's always this theory that if a ref gives a bad decision historically, that they are then looking for an opportunity to level the playing field. Shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen like that. And again, with this, I understand what you're saying, and that boils down to consistency in refereeing as opposed to whether Ailing was a red card or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I know what you mean now.
it,
I can see what
it,
you're saying now.
like
I think
it
my
could.
argument should be more at the consistency of the referees rather
Yeah,
than
and
the
you're right.
challenge
You're
itself.
100%. You're 100% right. And consistency is something that we've been begging for. And to be honest, I don't think it's something we're ever going to get. Even with VAR, there's too many inconsistencies. But in terms of that challenge in that game, for me, it's absolutely a red card, or at least it's one of those situations where you're making the referee make a decision and it's unnecessary because you're opening yourself up to the possibility of a red card for a team that really needed a win. Yeah, okay, Arsenal got 2 quick fire goals, but Arsenal weren't amazing in that game, I wouldn't
They
say.
haven't been for a while, to be fair. They weren't
No,
that
they
amazing
haven't.
against us when we played them. Obviously, I know they beat us 3-1, but they weren't like 3-2, wasn't it, in the end? Because Ronaldo got two.
Yeah.
They still weren't unbelievable. It weren't like they blew us away, and I was like, oh my god, Arsenal are unbelievable. It was we were just very poor, and they were poor, but a little bit better than us.
Yeah, it was 3-1, but yeah,
Yeah, no,
it
yeah, it
was
was 3-1.
but yeah, listen, yeah, Ailing, he shouldn't have done it, and I just feel that for me, it was personally, it's a red card, regardless of what happened elsewhere. Just because one thing's a yellow doesn't make another thing a yellow. Like
No,
it's
I
not
see
how
what you mean.
it
I
can't
see what
work
you
like
mean.
that.
No, I do see what you mean. I just think we need to get a bit more consistency with referees then, if that's the
Yeah, I
case.
mean, yeah, we can
Considering the fact that
100% agree on that.
they are now, well, they've been professionals for a while now, and it's getting to the point where they don't. It's not like the old days where they used to have a job and they used to rock up on a fucking Saturday afternoon and ref fucking Man United Liverpool. They literally are. They're training all year round for it, and they're given the best top facilities with everything in terms of video assistance and everything that they have to make it better. And I don't. It's not getting better. It seems to be getting worse in terms of from what it was before.
Yeah, I think VAR is a big part, has a big part to play in that because I think referee. I don't want to say they're nervous, but I just think they don't want to necessarily make decisions because of VAR, because it's obviously so easy for them to be shown that, oh, that was wrong, that was right, whatever. And I think that with VAR, um, it's one of those where again it's the whole clear and obvious, and the the Ailing goal, obviously VAR recommended that the referee looks at it, so they didn't recommend a red card. They just recommended the referee looks at it. But again, this season, I don't know how often it's only happened once or twice, maybe that the ref's been told to go and look at something,
And they've
and they
not.
still stuck to their original
Yeah,
decision. So they're being heavily influenced by VAR, and again, that shouldn't happen. Now, it comes back to I honestly think that they should have referees come out at the end of the game or have a report at the end of each game because they will have to submit a report to the FA, right?
yeah,
Publish it, what they
yeah,
saw, because then at least people will be like, oh, they saw it that way. Oh, okay. And then people might start to be like, oh, okay, actually, yeah, I can see how they saw that. Oh, I can see the perspective there. Yeah, okay, I didn't actually think about that. You know what I mean? Whereas now, at the moment, we're just looking, oh, the refs are shit. Obviously, they're not doing it on purpose. They're not doing it on purpose. You have to believe they're not doing it on purpose. And the consistency, because it's human nature, it's difficult to get the consistency because everyone will look at it different from a different perspective. The United one you talk about, obviously the refs looked at it and gone, no, I don't think there's anything in that. VAR then doesn't want to turn around and be like, oh no, you're wrong, because VAR is like, well, okay, yeah, I can see your perspective. Um, it's a difficult. I don't think we'll ever get consistency. I don't think VAR will fix this. I think VAR will be better next year. I think they'll make changes again. Hopefully for the better. We'll see. time will tell. But I think it will be better next year. I think people will learn how to use it better and learn to use it more. Um, but still, going back to that red card for me, red card.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I think that covers the Arsenal Leeds game. We move on to the next game, which was Leicester Everton. Everton taking this one 2-1. I'll let you go first, bud. I know you started to talk about it earlier, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's a massive, massive win for Everton. Leicester, a terrible, terrible team. They've had a really, really bad season, and no one's really spoken about it. And they're not getting any stick for it. I don't get it. I don't get with that team. They should be doing better than they are. They've got some really, really solid players in there. But say for Everton, I mean, it's a huge, huge win. I had a feeling they would win, just because of how poor Leicester are. Leicester, like Wolves, you don't really know what you're going to get. It's just Wolves are more often than not, it's better than what you get with Leicester. And yeah, that the Mikolenko goal, fucking hell, what a strike, what a finish. He
Yeah,
almost caressed it in. It wasn't an actual like what a thunder bastard. Like it wasn't that. It was just it was just caressed.
beautiful.
Fantastic finish. And it set them on the way for what is a huge, huge 3 points tonight. We again up until last week, none of us, well, we weren't talking about Leeds, but right now, absolutely, Leeds look like they are doomed. They've got Chelsea tomorrow, which I mean, you never know. Obviously, Chelsea, who knows? But I think looking at all their fixtures remaining, I think Leeds are gone. And say that game was huge for Everton because had Everton not got a result, then I would have said Everton were favourites to go down.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I think they got very lucky that they played Leicester in a week that Burnley lost and Leeds lost. They played the perfect team. Leicester are absolutely rubbish. I don't know, like you say, I don't know what the hell has happened to them this year. I don't know how they've sort of slid under the radar. Um, I mean, they're sitting in 14th at the moment, 42 points. Um, I mean, if there was, I'd say, another 2 or 3 games after the season, they might be sitting there going, we might not be safe here, on
Yeah,
42 points with obviously Burnley and everyone picking up results. If it was say 32 played and there were 6 games left and they are the points they are ahead right now, which is 12, they're 8 points ahead. You're sitting there going, okay, maybe they're not actually safe. Um, but I think they're very
yeah. I
lucky.
mean, to be fair, they did have some chances though. One thing I would say, they did have chances. Pickford had a really, really good game, didn't he? Again,
Oh,
unfortunately,
that
the guy's an
save!
arsehole.
Jeez.
Yeah, but the guy's a real piece of shit. What was it? I can't remember what happened early in the game. Something happened, and straight away he's acting like an absolute wally. I can't stand him as a person. He comes across really negatively, personality-wise, on the pitch. Very arrogant, very cocksure. Um, but his saves last few weeks, if Everton do stay up, it's because of him and
Yeah.
nothing else. It's not because of Frank Lampard and anything like that. It's because of Jordan Pickford. He's been
Yeah.
absolutely
He's had
unbelievable. He was
two
he
weeks in
was
a
he was
row.
excellent against he was excellent against Chelsea. He was really good against us a few weeks ago when they beat us 1-0. He's been a real difference maker in that team, and yeah, it's like I say, if they do stay up, it's predominantly down to the fact that Jordan Pickford's been in goal for them and just had an absolute belter
Belter.
of an end of
Yeah.
season.
2 weeks in a row, he's probably had 2 of the saves of the season. One against
Yeah,
Chelsea and then one against Leicester that was going top corner. He saved it. Don't know how. I still don't know how he got it now. Um, but yeah, no, he's been playing very well for him, and yeah, I think they've done what they needed. So we move on to the last 2 o'clock kickoff, which was Norwich versus West Ham. West Ham obviously going out midweek to Frankfurt in the Europa League semi-final. They lost it. Um, and they ended up bouncing back and winning 4-0 in this one. How do you see it, pal?
I mean, it was an easy game against easy opposition, though, wasn't it? Ultimately,
Yeah,
you couldn't ask for a better game to come back to after the disappointment that was. Because I mean, especially when you look at the Rangers reach the final, West Ham be thinking, "Fucking hell!"
could have
Like if
won
we were in
that.
the final, yeah. So they'll be bitterly disappointed after Thursday night. But yeah, it's a perfect team to be playing. Um, the only other teams that you'd want to play after a situation like that are United or Watford. Um, so yeah, they did what they had to do. Destroyed Norwich. It wasn't even a game
It was,
really,
yeah, it was no point. It was
and
poor.
just yeah, there was just an absolute golf in quality. It's
I think we said
not a
this
lot else.
last week or the
Yeah,
week before. It was just like Norwich players are like they're too good for the Championship, but they're not good enough for the Premier League. It's like their players like stuck in between. Like their players are like 18th, 19th, 20th best in Premier League, but they're just too good for Championship level. It's like they're stuck in between. They never really get. They're never going to stay up in the Premier League because they're not good enough, but they're too good to stay in the Championship. So
yeah,
they just seem to be
I think
yo-yo.
that's fair.
I think it's similar to Watford. Watford probably a bit better players, but Watford just keep bouncing back. They're like a yo-yo club. They go down, come up, go down, come up. Sort of it keeps happening all the time. But that's Norwich for you. Um, I don't think there's much else you can add. Bowen with a hat trick of assists. He's had a great season for him.
Yeah, he has.
And I can
Obviously,
see,
Declan Rice is
of
obviously
course,
everyone's just he's been superb. Antonio getting on the score sheet as well.
yeah, he's looked a
First
little
goal in
bit.
a while.
Yeah, he's looked a little bit.
He's been wasteful recently, like really quite poor, Antonio. But yeah, Bowen, yeah, you're right. He has had a really good game. Listen, they're a really good team, West Ham. They've got a solid core through that. Again in the summer, Bowen, will people be looking at him? I think so. And obviously, Declan Rice is well documented that there's numerous clubs after
Yeah,
Declan Rice. The one thing I'd say though is that West Ham's board are very strong, and they won't be taken for mugs. And they'd sooner watch that player run their contract down than lose them right now. Especially with the club where they are at the moment, they'll be looking at it next season and going, "Well, we can grow again from here." Um,
yeah,
the big thing for them is getting Europe. Now, it looks like they will. They'll probably get the Europa Conference spot. I mean, well, to be fair, they could get. We could end up in the fucking Europa Conference and them end up um, in the Europa League. But they'll look at Europe again, and then they'll want to go again. And say, I think that with the team they've got currently, um, two or three more squad players, better quality squad players, and I think they've got a really good making of a really good team there,
yeah.
West Ham. You've got to give them credit for a good season.
Oh no,
David Moyes
definitely.
has,
I'd definitely
yeah,
give him
been
credit.
he's been excellent. Um, and yeah, I mean, he was like, was it last week or the week before? There was the interview with David Moyes, and he was talking about United and stuff as well, and he was quite open and honest about it. And again, respect to him for that. There's no bitterness there. It's just kind of like mistakes were made, and you kind of got to you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and
At least you're man
but
enough to admit it. The
yeah,
first thing you've
exactly.
got to admit that you made a mistake. If you do that, it's sort of like people don't tend to hate you as much. Um,
Yeah. Listen, David Moyes. A lot of people say that he wasn't obviously given enough time at United. It's hard to know what he would have if he could have done something with more time. He had a different mentality. He had the wrong mentality
he
for
went
Man
with the
United at the
small club
time.
mentality, whereas he
Yeah,
needed to go with the
exactly
big
that.
club mentality.
That was the problem, and I think that that comes from Everton being
Fight.
mid a mid table, like a mid-sized club, and then you almost want he needed like a middle ground
He needed Spurs.
between the likes. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
your middle ground. That used to be the
yeah,
middle ground. It
exactly.
was like
Yeah,
you'd go somewhere like Everton as you're like starting, and then to go to the just before the top four. If you went to Spurs and you made it there, you're like, okay, you can make yourself even higher.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
He didn't do that, and now he's learnt the hard way. I do think I don't know whether it would be different now if he took over us now. Obviously, I know it's not going to
I think
happen.
so. You learn from your mistakes, right? And I think it would be different now. I think that he wouldn't come in and tear everything up. But then the problem now is actually it's weird. When he came in, what he needed to do was he needed an evolution rather than a revolution, and he went the revolution route.
Yeah,
What United need now
it's
is a fucking
revolution.
revolution. Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you mean. We've tried the evolution for the last three managers and it ain't worked.
yeah,
So it's now France revolution. So yeah, it possibly could have worked differently. I'll say we'll move on from that one. Give Dave Moyes. I'm sure we'll give him his credit due in the end of season for this year. But we'll move on from the West Ham game and move to the last game, the money derby, the Shane McMahon derby, which is City versus Newcastle. City after their midweek capitulation, where I believe I read a stat, it's the seventh time Guardiola has been knocked out of the Champions League, where there has been two goals in less than a 10-minute succession of each other, which does stagger you a bit to think that he's going out of the Champions League because his team capitulate, and it's not just happened once or twice. 7 out of the last 9 it's happened, and not one in the Champions League obviously since Barcelona, which arguably his Barcelona team was probably the best team to ever live. Um, Having said that, they definitely picked himself, dust himself off, and absolutely smashed Newcastle to pieces. Um, I'll let you go, pal. I'll let you say what you want on the game.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that someone said this would be a hard game for City, and I'm pretty sure I said no. Listen,
I don't know whether it was me last week because I said depends on what it depends on what happens in midweek.
well, we had the discussion about is it an advantage or disadvantage of playing first as well, and I said I don't think it matters. I think this
Yeah,
shows that, in fact, playing first can be awkward too. I think
yeah,
people
no,
forget that
yeah,
because the pressure's on you to make a statement, right? And I said this last week, and Liverpool. Listen, Spurs and Newcastle, two very different teams, um, but considering that Newcastle the week before had given a pretty good account of themselves against Liverpool,
yeah.
for City to turn up and do that, and they literally turned them over. It was complete domination. It was
It's
just,
like they were
it was
angry.
impressive.
They were angry
Yeah,
about what happened, so it wasn't
I think
like
they're
let's
angry
feel
about a lot
sorry
of
for
things.
ourselves.
They're angry about the Champions League. I think they're angry about the treatment that Liverpool get. Um, there's a lot of frustration and anger in the club. I think obviously, listen, it's no secret that Pep wants the Champions League again. He hasn't won it since 20, was it 11?
Barcelona, that's the last time we won it. Yeah,
Barcelona
they're
when they
beating
done
us.
us.
Yeah, in Wembley. Was it Wembley last time they
Um,
beat us? Yeah, it was.
can't remember if it was Wembley the last time or the time before, but anyways, it was yeah. It may have been. It may well have been Wembley. Yeah, he hasn't won it since then, and he had an unbelievable Bayern team and probably should have won it with them. He's now got a City team which is
Unbelievable.
yeah, it is. It is probably the best, not the best team on paper. I think the best team on paper is still probably just about PSG, but it's the best team. Obviously, in the midweek, De Bruyne coming off hurt them massively. They lost an element of control at
Yeah,
that point. Um, and Grealish came on, didn't he? And obviously, a lot of people, I think Arsene Wenger has said about Jack Grealish and blamed Jack Grealish. I think that's a little bit unfair. I do get it, though. I get that Jack Grealish, he comes on and he tries to keep hold of the ball and dribble a lot, take people on, a bit more flashy than City players usually are, and Pep likes them to be. But anyways, like I say, a mega bounce back puts a 3 point gap between them and Liverpool now. And just have a look at the fixtures now. So Liverpool got Villa tonight. City got Wolves tomorrow. Then City got West Ham, where Liverpool got Southampton, and then City got Villa, where Liverpool got Wolves. Um, it's going to be interesting. I can still see points being dropped, mainly by City, what it's worth. Um, but I think they'll have enough. I think they'll do enough to just about win the league. But it's tight and it's interesting. It is very interesting. I think goal difference could come into it.
Yeah,
And actually, this win, assuming that Liverpool don't get a big win against someone, although obviously Villa may well roll over tonight. I don't think they will. I don't think that while Gerrard would want obviously Liverpool to win the league, I think that I'd like to think that he's a professional enough to, and the players are professional enough to not just roll over and let it happen. But yeah, well played to City, and I did call it. I think I called 3-0 though, didn't I?
I think you did, mate. Yeah, yeah. No one got a correct result bang on this week. Got the teams right, but didn't get the exact result right.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, yeah, big win for City, and I mean statement.
Yeah, I think that covers this week's games. We'll move on to we'll do goal of the week first. Goal of the week. I had 3 down. That was my mentions, and pick one between the 3. I had Trincao for Wolves.
Yeah,
I had obviously Mikalenko's goal for Everton, and I literally just forgot the third goal. Ayer's goal for
yeah.
Brentford. Um, of the 3, I'm obviously I can't give it to. I have to give it to Mikalenko. What a strike. Um, what did you think?
Well, I had the 3 that you had, plus Gross's goal as well. I thought was very good.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, Mikalenko,
Yeah. Right, let's move on to team of the week. Um, Goalkeeper.
Pickford.
See, I had a very hard one this week because I went between 2 goalkeepers and it was very hard to pick between the 2. I had Pickford and I also had Sanchez for Brighton. Because even though we didn't create that much, he still pulled off some very, very good saves. Cavani's header, what a save that was. And there was obviously Fernandez's strike as well. There was a couple of saves that you made. But to be fair, thinking about it properly, I'd probably have to go Pickford. Just from the save, just for the top corner, really. That save alone deserves to be goalkeeper of the week. Back 4, pal, what'd you go for?
Romero, Laporte, and Zinchenko. No
Timchenko.
Cancelo.
Fucking hell, I'm glad I'm sitting down. I actually put your
I
mate in
did.
though. I put Cancelo in. I thought he had a really good game. You see,
No, he did have a good game, but I thought Zinchenko did really well, and I wanted and I deserved right back. So
yeah,
then I was like, I found it difficult to then displace him with Cancelo because actually I thought that for the goal alone,
he
um,
deserved it.
yeah, and the fact that it was such an emphatic win for Brentford,
yeah,
um, yeah, I felt like he deserved
I
to
see what
be
you
in.
mean. I got Cancelo, Janssen, Cucurella, and Milenko. My 4. Your midfield 3.
Uh, Gross, Ericsson, De Bruyne.
Right, fair enough. I've gone Casiedo for Brighton, Ericsson, and I went Rodri rather than De Bruyne. I think
Okay,
Rodri for me skates under the radar quite a lot for a lot of people. He's like a Spanish Carrick for me. He just scoots under the radar, does everything right, plays the way it should be, and once again, I think it's like the 3rd week in a row he's got a goal for him at the right time. He just seems to score. I thought he deserved to be in there. Front 3, what are you going for?
I've gone for Nketiah,
Yeah,
March,
yeah,
and Kane. I could justify my decision with Kane because he was always an out ball for
yeah,
Spurs, and he held the ball up really well. And he caused every time that he got the ball, you could see that Liverpool were worried
yeah.
about what he was going to do, and they did back off him quite a bit. And I think that he made a big difference, and he was a big part of the reason that Spurs got a result out of that game and could have won.
Yeah, fair enough. I went for Bowen and Nketiah and Sterling. Bowen had a class game before against Norwich, and Nketiah for his 2 goals, and Sterling actually didn't play too bad for Man City. But that runs up our team of the week, and this weekend just gone. There is a few games to get through for this week. Obviously, we're being with midweek as well, so we'll read it off because we're already at an hour and 15 minutes. So we'll read them more quickly to get them in and get the podcast sorted. So Villa Liverpool.
2-0 Liverpool.
I'm going to say 3-0 Liverpool. Leeds Chelsea.
1-0 Chelsea.
I'm actually going to go 1-0. Leicester versus Norwich.
1-0 Norwich.
1-0 Norwich. Shit beat shit, this is. I reckon Leicester are going to win. Norwich ain't good enough. Watford versus Everton.
Yeah, Everton 1-0.
Everton 1-0. Yeah, I think I can see that happening as well. Wolves City.
3-0 City.
2-1 City. Spurs Arsenal on the Thursday.
1-0.
1-0. I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal. Right, then we go to the first of the weekends on the Sunday. Spurs Burnley.
Another draw for Spurs. 1-0.
2-1 Burnley. 2-1 Burnley. Conte's leaving Spurs and Potter's going there.
Yeah.
Villa versus Palace.
0-0.
0-0. I'm going to go 2-1 Villa. Leeds versus Brighton.
Brighton 2-0.
I'm going to go the other way. Leeds 2-0. Watford Leicester.
1-0.
1-0. Leicester having 2 really easy games in a row. Or not. 1-0 Watford I'm actually going to go.
Well, it's their last home game of the season, right? So
yeah, you never know. Hopefully so. West Ham versus City.
It's gonna be a good game. I think 2-1 City.
I'm gonna go 1-0. Wolves versus Norwich.
3-0 Wolves.
2-0 Wolves. Everton versus Brentford.
1-0 Brentford.
1-0 Brentford. I'm gonna go 1-0. Newcastle versus Arsenal is the Monday.
2-1 Arsenal.
I'm going to go 1-0 Newcastle. Chelsea Liverpool in the FA Cup.
Are we doing that as well?
Well, might as well. It's the only other
2-1
game.
Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea.
Yeah, fuck your quadruple.
Stick your quadruple up your arse. 1-0 Chelsea. Right, that wraps up the podcast for this week. Believe so. I think that's everything covered off. Just trying to make sure, yeah, we've done goal of the week, done team of the week, gone through all the games, and that's that all done. Thank you very much for listening. If you like the podcast, or even if you don't, please give us a like. Comment on the video if you'd like to see us talk about any other topics or anything like that. Being as it's almost the end of the season, I'm sure myself and Rez are going to get together and talk about some special episodes and different things we can do. I have got a couple of ideas that I've been rolling off the top of my head, and I'll talk to you about them privately, Rez, and then we'll get it going once the season finishes. If you'd like to appear in the podcast, please just message on our socials or get in touch with myself or Reza directly, and then we'll get you on as soon as we possibly can. I'd like to try and see if we can get someone in just before the end of the season, just to talk about the season itself or how it's gone for their team. If we can, we will do. If not, we'll speak to you next time. Thank you for listening.
Cheers.